I'm Kris Krohn, and welcome back to our partnering series. Today we're talking about how to get your hands on a really hot, juicy deal. I cannot tell you how much I love this part of the business. For me, there's nothing quite like laying my eyes on a piece of paper that is giving me all the juicy numbers of a deal that my team has crunched, and I'm basically there to say, is this the deal I'm gonna cherry pick for my partnership or not? It's super fun. And up until this point, if you've been watching the whole series, we've talked about what makes a good partnership and a bad partnership, what both parties have to gain, how we work together. We've also had a chance to talk about business entities and setting up the LLC. And basically, in order for us to go look at a deal, we've got to have all of our eggs lined up, which means you've done your pre-qualification and the bank has told us what you're capable of or whether we need a credit partner so we can know how to put your money to work in the partnership. We've also set up the LLC. We have the operating agreement, we both signed it. Now we've gone to the bank to set up the business bank account. We've got the tax ID number. This is a legitimate business. We've jumped through all the proper hoops. We're all set up. And guess what? Now it's time to get our hands on a good deal. Now, here's the first thing I want you to understand. These good deals exist everywhere. The deal of the decade comes along every day. You just have to know where to look, and you gotta be wicked fast to grab it, because if you don't, someone else will. We're just good at knowing how to spot them and grab them on a consistent basis. Now, I will tell you, in one of the next videos, we're gonna get into specific markets. We're gonna talk about where I'm buying and how I'm buying them. But I want you to understand first the really big picture. When we get these, there's a couple of different ways. We are leveraging auctions, we are leveraging realtors, we are leveraging pre-foreclosures. There's a number of places that we look to find motivated sellers that have a reason to sell a home. Or we've gone into one of our growth markets that I'm gonna train you on, where the market took a dive and now we're purchasing that property knowing that we've got great cash flow, and we're gonna ride momentum up to the rebuild value. We're not counting on appreciation, but we are accounting for it. And before there's a bubble, there's other gains to have. Or we might be going into one of our cash flow markets. Now, in general, we are acquiring these properties one of two ways, and I need you to understand this because you might be called and asked to do something as a partner. First of all, some of these deals that are at the auction steps, I don't bring you into that because there's drama. We've got to research it, we've got to look at the property, then we've got to bid on it, we've got to win it. Often we've got to pay money right on the court steps or within 24 hours. We got to buy it cash, then we got to rehab it. So with these properties, they're what I call turnkey. Before you and I were ready for the home, a month earlier, we already identified a home because I'm buying so many of them. We already found it, we already purchased it, we already fixed it. And I run a little hedge fund, and what they do is they find these homes and they basically get them all fixed up and ready that they can turn over for me to look at as something that I might want to buy with my partnership, or we might wholesale. Now, in doing this, you can imagine that there's an expense. And the company that I created charges a $4,995 coordination fee. And I want you to take note of this because this is important. We're not just leveraging a realtor and a loan officer. We charge a coordination fee because I have a whole team of people that are not licensed to get licensed income from doing the deal, that have to be paid for managing the rehab, doing the rehab, managing the property managers, selecting them, doing the legwork, researching, finding the houses, crunching the numbers. A lot of that is happening by a whole team of non-licensed individuals. They got to get paid. So I found a way to have the lowest flat fee that can get them taken care of. It hardly produces a profit for the company, but it means that we can save the real juicy profits for you and I. Because we could flip these in the market and make $15,000, $20,000+. That $5,000 says we've covered our bases on the 342 hours worth of work, including the hedge fund money's cost of the money and carrying costs itself. So it's a super cheap way for you and I to get in and really jump in on the deal and have the team doing all of the work without you and I needing to pay $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 for us and to hire others to actually do the work. Right now we're working with economies of scale. That's why we're getting such good deals. So I might either bring properties to you that are turnkey. They already got bought, purchased, fixed up, and everything's ready. And we can jump in and get that at the lowest and most advantageous price. The other option is I go into some of my markets like Florida, where that market is still rebounding. We know what its cost to build is at and that we're beneath it. And the only way to get those deals, for the most part, is to actually go and put a lot of offers out. So I've trained my realtor teams out there, and what these contractors do is they know my criteria, they know my ROIs, they know my numbers, and I'm gonna have to engage you on these ones. And what that looks like is I might basically say, hey, we're gonna have this realtor send you a bunch of properties, and I don't want you to ask questions about whether they're a good deal or not, because all we're trying to do is get it under contract. They've done the preliminary work, because remember, getting under contract doesn't mean we buy it. We gotta snag it before someone else does. So my team does preliminary work and says, we think this house will have the ROI that meets Kris's expectations. It's gonna have a super juicy ROI, but we gotta get it under contract first, figure out what we're negotiating it for, and then we need to get some rehab estimates. Now this happens pretty quickly, but basically, if we're searching in one of those high growth markets or another market that's similar to it, I'm gonna have my realtors directly in touch, and they're basically going to send you documents saying DocuSign, DocuSign, DocuSign. You're not gonna ask questions about is it a good deal or anything, because all I want you to do is hop on, take 2 minutes. For me, it takes 30 seconds. Sign, 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 I'm done. Oh, here's another one. Sign, 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 I'm done. We might be trying to buy 2 properties, and I might have you sign on 4, 5, or 6 of them, because what will happen within the next week is my team will evaluate all the properties. My team will crunch the numbers, they'll collect the rehab, and we'll basically say, now that we have all of the facts, now we know what we can negotiate it for, now we know what that looks like, we are ready to give you the numbers, and now it's time to decide, do you want this, or are you gonna cancel it? Friends, that's when we're having the meeting and actually saying, now we know what the numbers are. This one panned out at 16%, I don't want it, we're gonna ditch it. This one panned out at X percent, that's hot, let's get on this, okay? That's how we're going to know what we're gonna ditch and what we're gonna keep. But you can see that the turnkey, they're ready to move on. These other ones, I gotta involve you a little in the process. And you and I don't really wanna have conversations as partners until we know this is a really good deal and that we're actually gonna buy it. Getting it under contract doesn't necessarily mean that. Now, I do want you to understand that when we get these really good deals, so we are gonna have typical lending fees, realtor fees, and this coordination fee. And I want you to understand that real estate is going to cost what real estate is gonna cost. Like even when we get the property, there's going to be property management fees that they're charging us that we gotta pay. I got my accountants that are gonna be doing our quarterly reports and basically making sure that we're bookkeeping everything correctly. Guys, I keep those costs as low as possible. This is a business. There will be costs, and we do need to pay those costs. Again, that's a part of making a lot of money. And trust me, I've been on the side where I started with faith and I had no idea, and then I got to rotate through and revolve and buy properties and sell and buy and sell. And now I've done this so many times that I actually know that if we step into properties with this kind of margin, that we're gonna do in the end of the day, we're gonna look back and say, you know what? That turned out really well. Some of the deals we're gonna say, the profits weren't what we thought, but we definitely crushed it compared to banks and other people. We're gonna be saying that I think that's what a realistic worst case scenario often looks like. But more often than not, we're gonna say, wow, we did a fantastic job. This turned out great. These ROAs were great. Let's roll that into the next deal. So friends, that's information on what we're doing to find some of the best deals that are out there that we can get our hands on and some of the different ways that we're getting them. And in one of the next videos, I will be talking very specifically about what are the markets, how do we get them under contract, and how do we actually secure them and get the deal of the decade that other investors are trying to get their hands on. They're not gonna get half as good of a deal. Hey friends, thanks for watching this video. In one of the upcoming videos, I'm gonna talk about the specific markets that I'm investing in. Now at this point, you might actually already be one of my partners watching this because I'm helping set the expectations right so that when we talk on the phone, man, we are ready to blaze a trail forward. If you're actually considering partnering, generally people have to have 6 figures on up of money set aside. And if that's you and you're thinking, well, I got money in a 401k or IRA or home equity or something like that, then what you do is actually just go ahead and click the link, request talk to my team, and they're gonna interview you. They're also gonna educate you, and we'll see if we actually have a fit.